So let's have some Dr. Seuss coronavirus style. Most folks in the world like true facts a lot, but the Trump who lived at Mar-a-lago did not. The Trump hated true facts, the whole read and learn shtick. Now please don't ask why. His brain couldn't make facts stick. It could be his head was screwed on too far right. It could be perhaps his golf shoes were too tight. But I think that the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoe, he ignored the global health warning from WHO. Thought banning the Chinese was all he need do. We've shut it all down, he said February 2. And it's silly to worry, it's just like the flu. The fake news is hoaxing, he snarled with a sneer. Its name is Corona, it's no worse than beer. Then he growled with his short fingers nervously drumming, I must find some way to keep my hotels humming. For tomorrow he knew all spring break girls and boys would be flying to beaches in massive convoys where they'd buy drinks and employ a lot of busboys. Meanwhile, Richard Burr, Senate chair, learned how bad it would be, sold his stocks by the millions and set himself free. Lied to the public so they wouldn't see, but pandemic is coming, he said privately. The very day Burr warned his friends of his fear, Trump tweeted to all that the coast was all clear. He wanted us all to think he was a hero, so he said real soon it'll be close to 0. But Trump knew bad ratings the virus would bring, throwing a wrench in his plan to be king. And the more that Trump thought of the whole voting thing, the more that Trump thought, I must stop this whole thing. Why, for more than 3 years, I've put up with libs now. I must stop those liberals from voting. But how? Then he got an idea, an awful idea. The Trump got an horrible, awful idea. All I need is an expert. The Trump looked around. Since he'd fired them all, there was none to be found. But did that stop old Trump? No. The Trump simply said, if I can't find an expert, I'll make one instead. So he called his dog Mike, and he took some red thread, and he tied a red hat on the top of Mike's head. Mike can pray it away, he's the man to do it. USA, USA, can Windex cure it? And Mike Pence said, chill out. It is still safe to fly. You can all get a test. You want masks? Don't know why. All the folks watched the briefings, no urgency there, and Americans kept going about without care, while the virus invaded most everywhere. You can still go to work, the old grumpy Trump hissed. No need to stop business. Grandpa won't be missed. Then Trump sent masks to China, other PPE too. WHO called it pandemic, for who really knew? Trump dismissed the warnings and his confidence grew because he studied the map and saw how this thing grew. Near folks in big cities, homes close in a row. These blue states, he grinned, are the first things to go. Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant, demanding compliments from everyone present. Praise me, say I'm best, no one could do better. Girl Gov, get on your knees, write me a love letter. And he blamed the Obamas, Pelosi and more, until even Fox News thought that Trump was a bore. When the Trump got bad press and he started to shove, he heard a small sound like the coo of a dove. He turned around fast and he saw a small man, Dr. Anthony Fauci, who was not very tan. The Trump had been caught by this real-life H. Potter, who'd studied and knew of the upcoming slaughter. He stared at the Trump and said, crazy man, why? Why are you risking your sons and your daughter? But you know that old Trump was so smart and so slick, he thought up a lie and he thought it up quick. Why, I need you, the fake president lied, to tell people they need not stay inside. I'm finding old drugs that work miracles, dear. You distract them with facts while I dose myself here. But Trump's fib didn't work. The doc patted Trump's head and he got Trump a drink and he sent him to bed. And when Costa from CNN asked a tough ask, Doc went where Trump didn't and took Trump to task. 100 grand dead isn't good news to Trumpet. The doc took that load of BS and he dumped it. You must save yourselves from Trump's ignorant slumming. You're finding out now that no Fed action's coming. Then Trump waited to see what folks would do. He hoped Dems would go out, their states would bleed blue. Then he'd cancel elections and they'd cry, boo-hoo. That's a noise, grinned the Trump, that I simply must hear. So he paused and the Trump put his hand to his ear. And he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, then it started to grow. But the sound wasn't loud. Why, the sound was quiet. It couldn't be so, but it was very quiet. He stared at the country, the Trump popped his eyes, then he shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. Everyone in the country, the tall and the small, stayed home without any federal guidance at all. They turned off their TVs. They weren't watching at all. Trump hadn't stopped people from staying. They stayed. Somehow or the other, they stayed just the same. And the Trump with his small feet ice cold in the snow stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? They stayed without rallies. They stayed without tweets. They stayed without my help, my hunches, my cheats. And he puzzled 3 hours till his puzzler was beat. Then the Trump thought of something that was pretty neat. Maybe policy, perhaps, shouldn't spring from my gut. Maybe America needs anything but. And what happened next? The historians say that the Trump's tiny heart grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he shut up and let experts make everything right. And he locked himself up, threw his Twitter away, and he himself, Trump, went inside to stay. The end.